Well, hey, Vision. Amen. Okay, we got some good stuff today. Part 4 of Kingdoms. And we are focusing on women today. But first, I need help from our guys, our men and boys. When you came in today, you should have gotten a little piece of paper that was folded over. So if you did not, men or boys, if you did not get one of those, raise your hand up high. Mike's walking around. He'll get them to you. And when you get them, don't let the girls see them. Okay, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. He's coming. Every man, every boy needs one of these notes. Make sure you check it out. You read it and swallow it so the girls don't see it. And be ready to respond accordingly when it's your time. All right. Now, with this series, I've been encouraging you. Invite your friends. Put out the invite cards. Bring people to church with you. We're having this whole kind of contest going on, calling it the hashtag Vision Invite. You can take the Kingdom invite cards, post them around town, take pictures. Now, we got some more because we got prizes coming on December 18th for the most creative. Here are a couple more that were posted this week. We got, of course, one, look at that timing of the women's event, Sprinkled with Joy, put out there in a restaurant. So wherever you go today for lunch, put a card. Next one up, we got, somebody said, hey, come into Vision. It'll fill your soul. It's a gas station. I like that tie-in. And this last one in the holiday season, we all need to get in the gym more. So if you're there today, put an invite card in the gym. Take a picture, post it. You could win a gift card to great restaurants and other lavish prizes. All right, so make sure you're posting those. We will give those away on December 18th. You get more cards at the front door, and bring your friends. Now, what's cool too, if you're out of town around Thanksgiving, hopefully you saw on Thanksgiving week, we were posting videos for the 4 days of prayer. And on days 1 and 3 and 4, we posted them, short videos, and got kind of average response, a good 500 to 600 views on those, which is great. Had feedback around town, people talking about praying. The Tuesday, day 2 of the 4 days of prayer, it timed in with, I'll say, a tragedy in our community where a high school girl had committed suicide. And I went over to Ashbrook High School that morning and shot a video outside that talked about that and how we need to be praying for boldness in our faith, because you never know when somebody needs to hear about the hope of God that day. So I posted that video. The other days, 500, 600 views. That day, we had almost 13,000 views on the video. So I encourage you, as you see these online, post them, share them, tag friends in them, and spread the word, because you never know who needs to see this information we're putting out. And we'd love for you to join us in that. Now, kind of recapping where we've been in the series, last week, I appreciate Brad Hart spoke and talked about spiritual warfare. And I love that because that ties in to this whole series. And 2 things in particular that stood out to me is that, number one, in this battle between a king and an enemy, that there's a difference in values and there's a struggle for territory. A difference in values between Jesus and Satan, and there's a struggle for territory. So ladies, make sure you understand today that the territory I'm talking about is you. That Jesus wants to fight for you. And clearly, his values are far different than our enemy, Satan. The second thing I picked up is Brad mentioned that on this planet, on this journey, in this battle, we're not the home team. We will never feel like things are going our way, or, if kind of the tide is turning and things are looking better. Honestly, they're not going to look better. This is going to be a tough battle. The whole time we're on this planet, this whole journey we're on, we will never be the home team, and yet we need to fight with diligence and fight valiantly and truly align ourselves with the King, who he's not worried. I mean, don't worry. Even though the tide is it's not looking good, he is the ultimate winner. So make sure you go online and catch last week's message about spiritual battle. And today we're picking back up with the verse that the series is kind of centered around, which is Matthew 6:33. It simply says, seek his kingdom, seek Jesus' kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. So what I believe it's saying there is that we need to have our values and our perspective aligned with the values of King Jesus. Seek his kingdom. And the second thing is we want to seek a right standing, a good relationship with him. And when we have that relationship and we have his values, all things, great things will be added to us in abundance. I want that in my life. I want that in your life. And today, as we talk about Kingdom Woman, I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you maybe a visual that will help a little bit. Because in the story I'm going to be reading out of today, it's an unnamed lady from way back in the Bible. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach maybe a name and a face to that person, and I'm going to take a little bit of creative liberty that she had a friend in the story. So you saw the different ladies who are up here on stage. So the primary person in today's story who was unnamed, I'm going to call her Lasagna. So Lasagna's over here, and she was up here singing. That's Lasagna. And then the other lady that I'm kind of assuming was in the story was a friend of hers, was Megan. So let's see, and Megan's right here. So when you hear me mention, Lasagna and Megan, you can at least kind of get a little bit of visual of some ladies in the story. And as we track with this, I want you ladies to know that God has got something great for you today. Because Jesus, ladies, he's the king. And he loves you. And he so much wants you to remember constantly that he loves you, that he's cheering for you, that literally, like, you're his princess. Yes. Okay, thank you guys. Wow, these guys, I guess they're representing Jesus. They're cheering. Jesus is cheering for you, ladies. You're indeed his treasure. So as we dig into this today, I want to talk first about some research on women. And my wife Meg, she said going into this, said, Matt, well, did you interview any women for today's message? And I thought for a minute, and I said, Meg, for 20 years now in ministry, I've been interviewing women. That really, when I talk with you, I'm trying not just to hear you so I can kind of respond. I'm listening so I can understand you. So that literally the conversations I've had in your home or at a restaurant or here at church, as I soak in information, it's because I care about you. And so I guess literally I have interviewed you so I can understand how God wants to communicate through me to you as women. So one thing I did, though, dig into this week is, what do women fear? I did some research on this to try to truly understand, particularly for the guys in here that maybe are a little bit, we're thick-headed and we don't understand women sometimes. I said, let's understand women. But ladies, I hope you can truly relate to these, because truly, 10 different things that women fear. I think number one is not being liked. They're scared. You're scared somebody's not going to like you. And I don't say that tritely, but really, when you think about the way you look, your weight, your hair, what you wear, what your husband looks like, what your house looks like, there's a fear of not being liked. There's a fear of sacrificing family time for work. You say, am I making the right choice? Am I using my time well, or am I going to regret this? There's a fear of relationships ending. There's a fear of loss of loved ones. There's a fear even of specific critters. Now, ladies, seriously, any ladies in here afraid of mice? Mice? Okay, how about spiders? Spiders, and how about the all-favorite snakes? How many ladies in here afraid of snakes? Okay, now, I am highly disappointed that our student leader is not here this morning, and I know we got ignition today, and he had some issues at his house when I talked to him yesterday, Kevin Collick, if you haven't met him. We're talking, he said, Matt, I can't go to that meeting yesterday, because I went to pull out all the Christmas stuff in the garage, and there's mouse poop everywhere. He's like, oh, man, I'm going to be at church all day tomorrow. We got ignition tomorrow night. So, man, I got to stay here and fix this. He said, but, Matt, don't tell anybody, but I'm scared of mice. I'm like, okay, Kevin, I won't tell anybody. So if anybody's here tonight for ignition and you see Kevin, just ask him about mice. Okay, mice. But seriously, if you ladies, number 5, scared of critters. Number 6, honestly, fear of being alone, fear of not being successful, fear of not accomplishing anything that really matters, anything significant. Fear of having to rely on someone else. Does that scare you to say, man, I need to be able to take care of myself. In case something happens, I need to be self-sufficient enough. And then number 10, truly, is there a fear of getting on the scale after the holidays? Ladies, does that scare you? The guys, they just don't care. They just open up another belt size, right? Right, guys? All right, well, today's passage, and it's a short passage. It's only 8 verses we're going to dig into. But in this story today, ladies, I want you to understand when I say Lasagna or when I say Megan, I want you to put yourself in their spot. And like Tabitha said earlier, men, you can't check out. Because certainly you need to understand women, but men, there is a message in this for you. I promise you. So women, let's dig into this story. Luke chapter 13 says, on a Sabbath, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues, and a woman was there who'd been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. She was bent over and could not straighten up at all. When Jesus saw her, he called her forward and said to her, "Woman, you're set free from your infirmity." Then he put his hands on her, and immediately she straightened up and she praised God. Now, what if we only focused on these 4 verses? I mean, wouldn't that be awesome enough? That Jesus healed a lady who'd had something tormenting her for 18 years. And you're like, man, I don't have a physical ailment like that. Have you got something, though, inside of you that you're dragging around? You got something that's holding you back? You got something that's in your mind, that's in your memory, that's in your past? Well, the story doesn't just end there, though. The second part of it, it starts off with this word indignant. And I looked that up, and when it talks about the synagogue ruler in that place being indignant, it meant he was kind of like offended or upset or taken back. So look at this next verse. It says, indignant because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, the synagogue leader said to the people, and imagine him saying it this way, "Hey, y'all, look, there are 6 days for work, so come and get healed on those days, not the Sabbath. I know we just did something amazing, but no, not today. Today's not the day to do that. It is more about rules here than a relationship. Come back another day to be healed." I mean, isn't that crazy? This lady who had just had the moment of her lifetime happen, and this guy is more concerned about the rules. And he is annoyed, ticked off, because Jesus broke a rule. Continues, says, "The Lord Jesus answered him, 'You hypocrites.'" Now, this is interesting when he says, "You hypocrites," because he didn't just speak to one man. He would have said, "You hypocrite." I think when the synagogue ruler tried to jump on Jesus, there's some other guys on the side saying, yeah, get him, man, get him, yeah. That's stupid. He's breaking rules. There's like a pack of them that are trying to jump on Jesus. And Jesus says, "You hypocrites," the group of y'all that think like this, "doesn't each of you on the Sabbath untie your ox or your donkey from the stall and lead it out to give it water?" Now you're like, what's he doing talking about animals? Okay, now out at our ranch, I know some of us who got some property with some animals, hey, every day they got to be fed, they got to be watered, they got to be moved from pasture to pasture. So the people in the synagogue that day, they knew that this ruler or the others who had animals, they didn't take the Sabbath day completely off. They still had to do some things, like take care of their animals. So Jesus is like saying, hey, let's be reasonable. There are some things that are still going to happen. That's your work to do today. And you know what? Healing is my work to do today. So he goes on, says, "Then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham?" And he's basically saying, hey guys, we're all from the same country. We're all from the same lineage. You're picking on one of our own. He says, "A daughter of Abraham, who Satan has kept bound for 18 long years, shouldn't she be set free on the Sabbath day from what bound her?" And when he said this, all his opponents were humiliated, but the people were delighted with all the wonderful things he was doing. Now, okay, who in here is sports fan? Sports fan. You like watching sports, playing sports, reading about sports? Don't miss what happened here. Jesus just trash talked this guy all the way down. Okay? He just did a miracle, and the guy's like, rah, 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 rah. "Why are you breaking rules today?" And Jesus is like, wait a second. Do you not see this lady? Oh, she needed to rise up. She was bent down in pain and discomfort, and she is healed. Said, man, get off of me. And I think what happened is some of the crowd was like, ooh, no, Jesus didn't. And they're like, yes, he did. Yes, he did. And they're posted like, man, Jesus just called out the Pharisees, man. And so seriously, Jesus, the only time, though, Jesus trash talked is when he was defending somebody who was being oppressed, somebody who was being hurt and mistreated. And he stepped in front and said, "I will defend you." That's when Jesus, as a king, will trash talk. Now, today's bottom line, ladies, I want to make sure you don't miss this, that a woman who chooses to be a princess, yes, a woman who chooses to be a princess in Jesus' kingdom knows two things. Two things. She's loved and she's needed. She is loved and she is needed. Well, I want to go into what I would imagine is the backstory of this lady. And again, she doesn't have a name in the story, but for our sake, we're going to call her Lasagna. So we can get a little visual and say, okay, I kind of know Lasagna. She was up here singing, kind of move a little bit up here. And I'm going to understand that this lady, Lasagna, she just didn't start existing when the story started. She had a life leading up to this. She had a day that led up to this. So what was her backstory? Well, when she heard about this guy coming to town, this Jesus, who could possibly heal or forgive or help or bless, I wonder if she was in her house thinking, should I go? Should I try to learn more about this Jesus guy? She said, because, man, my back hurts so much. I have so much pain and discomfort with this. Can I even overcome this just to get to him? I wonder if she said, I'm really so busy. There's so many things I have to do. Maybe I'll catch him next time. Or maybe it's not even worth it. Or maybe he can't even really heal. Maybe that was just a rumor. I've got so many things to do. I can't get there. Or even worse, maybe she was embarrassed. Or maybe she was tentative. Or maybe she's like, look, if I would go to him, what would he think about my past? What would he think about my mess? I mean, if he knew that I was divorced, or if he knew that I'd committed sexual sin, or if he knew that I had an abortion, if he knew about my addiction, if he knew what I think in my head, if he really knew me, would he possibly do anything for me? And ladies, don't miss that, because that's you. Every time that Jesus beckons and says, come on. Well, I wonder then, give me a little creative liberty here, that she left her house and she was wrestling with this. She's like, should I go? And maybe she got someplace in town and sat on a little wall. She's like, oh, should I go there or not? I don't think I can do it. And let's just guess that her friend Megan came walking on by. And Megan's like, Lasagna, what are you doing, girl? She's like, I was thinking about going to that healer, speaker, Jesus thing, but I don't think I'm going to do it. And Megan's like, how can you not go? This is our chance. This guy they've been talking about, this king. Well, it sounds like a king. She's like, yeah, this is the king who's going to come and help us and save us and defend us. And Lasagna's like, he would not do that for me. I don't even know if he could do that. And I wonder if then Megan said to her, wait a second. Here's what I've heard about him. This guy, Jesus, one time he walked through Samaria. When, most Jews walk around Samaria, he walked through Samaria and stopped and talked to a lady at this well. And Lasagna's like, what are you talking about? Jews and Samaritans? There's like this racial division. Men don't do that. They don't stop and talk to women in Samaria. And Megan's like, yeah, he did. And then Megan's like, okay, there's this guy, I think his name's Peter. His mother-in-law had a fever. She was going to die. Jesus touched her and healed her. She said, Lasagna, there was this widow. Her husband was already dead. All she had left was her son, and he died. And Jesus came walking through their town and went up and touched the casket they were carrying and told them to open it. Girl, you're not going to believe it. The son came out alive. This really happened. She said, there was this sinful lady, and everybody in the town knew she was a sinful lady. And Jesus was in a home eating, and this sinful lady came up to Jesus. And first of all, Jesus he let her approach him, and she got down at his feet just weeping. And no, Jesus didn't cast her away. Jesus actually touched her, and this lady then she took this perfume and poured on his feet, and Jesus blessed her. Said, Lasagna, this guy is different. He respects us. He cares about women. He loves us. She said, look, most rabbis, they only let guys follow him around. They only mentor guys. Jesus lets women follow him around. He teaches them. He cares about them. He respects them. She said, Lasagna, how long has your back thing been going on? She said, 18 years. She said, Lasagna, this lady, she had a bleeding condition for 12 years. And all she did was get close to Jesus, touch, and she was healed. Girl, you got to go. This could be the best thing ever. Lasagna's like, I'm not sure. She said, look, he took a girl who was dead and raised her from the dead. He did this feeding thing. You won't believe this. He was in a crowd. They said it was 4,000, but honestly, it was like 7, 8, 9,000 people. He fed them all. There was another time, they said 5,000. Girl, there was like 12,000 people there. He takes this little lunchbox of food and multiplies it to feed thousands of people. Lasagna, this guy is different than anybody who'd ever been here. Said, this guy Jesus, he even helped a girl who was tormented by a demon. People couldn't even touch her. She was so out of control. And he got that demon out of her. And she said, last, he even forgave the sins of this woman who was caught in adultery. So girl, whatever's in your background, it doesn't matter to him. We have got to go see him. So I wonder in that moment if it all changed. Remember that bottom line that says you're loved, but you're also needed. I would say in that moment, Megan, you were needed. Not that God needs us per se, but in his mission, he wants to work through us to where I think God looked down that morning and he looked inside Lasagna's house and said, I've got something for you. And he knew that she was going to need some help to get there. And so this other lady who was loved by Jesus said, I am loved and I'm needed. So that amazing display of how Jesus feels about women, evidently it was enough to get Lasagna there. And she gets to that place. She goes to that house. And we know what happened in the story. She was bent over, literally saying, I need to rise up. I need to get up. I need healing. And it happened. It happened. So for something like this to happen in your lives, ladies, I see 4 things out of the story. The first one is that Jesus, he wants to come into your space. He wants to come to your space. In this story, it's so cool. They didn't go to like the palace. They didn't go to some high mountain that only, like the rich people got to go to, or the elected people, the special people got to go to. Jesus went to the people. He went right into their synagogue. He got into their space. He said, ladies, I want to get into your space if you'll let me. So amazingly, this king, he's willing to come to you. Number 2, Jesus wants to connect you personally. He would look out on this crowd and he wouldn't say, I just bless you all. He would look at this crowd and say, Lasagna, I'm for you. And he'd look at you and you and you and say, ladies, I'm for you. I'm for you. He wants to connect with you personally. Can you imagine a king who has all the power and authority of a whole kingdom, that he would want to come and have a one-on-one with you? You mean that much to him. Number 3, I see that Jesus asks you to trust him. To trust him. This lady, she's staying in the back, and she's risking something now. If she's like thinking, is Jesus looking at me? Is he asking me to come forward? Maybe he's not. If I can walk forward and he's not, oh, I'm embarrassed. Oh, if he can't heal me, or the meat guys, they grab me and pull me down. There's a bunch of risk here. Jesus says, trust me. Trust me. And if you remember in week 1 of the series, I talked about when you come underneath the king, there's cost and there's benefit. And if you missed it, go on our website and catch it, because when you talk about the cost of giving up your rights, of taking on the agenda of another king, it's totally outweighed by the benefit. Remember, I talked about there's resources, there's leadership, there's protection. Ladies, this king, he wants to give that to you if you trust him. And then number 4, Jesus will change your life if you let him. If you let him. He's not going to impose this on you. He's not going to walk down to your part of the aisle and say, you got to do this. And honestly, I don't think he would have walked down to that side of the room and reached down and touched Lasagna and healed her. He wanted her to take that step. He wanted, sure, he was in her space, but she needed to trust him. And indeed, Jesus will change your life if you let him. Now, ladies, what next steps could you take from this? Because I want you not just to be encouraged by this, I want you, honestly, to be motivated to take a next step. So one next step I really want you to consider is let somebody pray with you today. After our last song, we'll have people in the care room, and the ladies who are up here on the stage, Tabitha and Lasagna and Megan and Courtney and Jessica and Andrea, these ladies that you saw up here on stage, catch them. You walk up to Andrea and say, girl, can I just talk to you for a minute? Would you just pray with me for a minute? These ladies would love to put their arm around you. Say, yeah, let's go off to the side and talk. Let me pray with you. That's the part of this thing of you're needed. Andrea, you're needed in this. You are. So that's one next step. Have someone pray with you. The next one may just be, hey, maybe you need to come to Christ. Maybe you have never, ever in your life ever said, okay, Jesus, I want you to be my king. I want you to be my leader. I surrender that to you. I trust you. Maybe it's to get in a women's small group. Maybe what you need around you are some friends. And you can go by the Connection Center and say, man, just help me find a small group. Help me get together some women that can kind of be a friend. And trust me, ladies, it's not a bunch of biblical scholars getting together to one-up each other on information. It's ladies getting together that are doing life together. Maybe you need to find a place to serve. You say, Matt, what's this got to do with serving? When you serve alongside another lady and you greet people or work with the kids or come help with the students and you serve with them, a bond is built. A conversation starts. You stop by the Connection Center and say, please just help me. Find a place to serve. For all you ladies, I'd say it's a reconnect with Jesus moment. It's a, Jesus, I want to be closer. I want to get back to where I was, where I need to be. This week, I'm going to pray. I'm going to stop and pray and talk with you this week, Jesus. I'm going to read my Bible. I'm going to take the takeaway card that Pastor Matt gives us, and I'm going to read those verses. And Jesus, I want to reconnect with you. Or maybe it's just saying, I'm going to be back next Sunday. That I need to have the routine of being in church every Sunday to be encouraged, to hear from God. And the other part of reconnecting is I want to give you a resource to consider taking. It's a book. It's called Captivating. It's written by Stacey Eldridge. And this book, in a nutshell, it says to women, you were designed for more than just surviving. You're to thrive in this journey. You're to be on an adventure with God. He designed you that way. So maybe your next step is, hey, get on Amazon this afternoon or on your phone right now and say, send me a Captivating. I'm going to read that. It's one of my favorite books. And man, little bonus here, why don't you go buy one for the woman in your life? Let her read it, and then you read it. Serious. You will learn something about how God made women. Well, this book, Captivating, I want to read you a quote from it. And I hope it will stir something in your heart. It says, that longing in the heart of a woman to share life together as a great adventure, that comes straight from the heart of God. Because he also longs for that. He doesn't want to just be an option in our lives. He doesn't want to be an appendage or a tag along. And honestly, women don't want to be that either to God. God is essential. He wants us to need him desperately. Now, Eve, the first lady, who you ladies are all from, Eve is essential in this journey. She has an irreplaceable role to play. And so you'll see that women are endowed with fierce devotion, an ability to suffer great hardships, and a vision to make the world a better place. The vast desire and capacity that a woman has for intimate relationships tells us, don't miss this, tells us of God's vast desire for an intimate relationship. In fact, this may be the most important thing we can ever learn about God, is that he yearns for a relationship with us. So again, ladies, the bottom line, that a woman who chooses to be a princess if you choose to be a princess in Jesus' kingdom, you just need to remember those two things, that you are loved and you are needed. You are. So thinking back to Lasagna and where she was at and how she just needed a king literally to help her rise up, this is your moment for that as well. To let Jesus speak into you in whatever is going on in your world and say, Jesus, would you help me rise up?